Next on America's Day at the Races at Belmont, Rocketry has found a new home on the main track, seeking a third stakes victory on dirt in the Flatouts. A veteran of last year's Triple Crown Trail, Marconi makes his Belmont debut, coming off a stakes win at Gulfstream. Will Bellafina be the belle of the ball on Kentucky Oaks Day? We'll preview the standout fillies' chances under the Twin Spires at Churchill Downs. And a last-minute switch. Reigning Triple Crown winning jockey Mike Smith is back in the Kentucky Derby mix. All that and much more coming up on this Friday edition of America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Our show also brought to you by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Great to have you with us on this Friday before the Kentucky Derby, and we have our old friend back on set, the Mig, Richard Migliori. Great to have you back. I'm Greg Wolf, that's Andy Serling, but good to see you again, Mig.
Well, it's great to be here, and just terrific to be with you guys and talk about some great racing, and who says you can't go home again?
Yeah, it feels like a time warp. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
You're always welcome here wherever he walks around the grandstand. You can't even talk to him for 5 minutes. People swarming him to go talk to him because they haven't seen him for a while. We have a lot of Derby developments to get to. A lot happened in the last 24 hours. We already knew the morning line favorite, Omaha Beach, out with a breathing issue now. High call for Kieran McLaughlin is out as well. He had a foot abscess. They were soaking it in Epsom salts. Did not work quick enough.
Well, I mean, you have to do what's right by the horse, right, Richie?
Well, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. These aren't career or life-threatening injuries that Omaha Beach or High Call have suffered. And he wasn't going to run good anyway if he wasn't 100% in a race like this. So you feel bad for them, though, to get all the way there and not be able to compete.
Yeah.
Deadline to scratch was 9 a.m. this morning, so he is out. He'll be out of the Derby, out of the Preakness, pointing to a summer campaign with High Cal. So we'll wait and see when he does make his return, but not an issue that they really have to be worried about. Just could not make this race. Bigger news with who is back in the race, of course, the jockey who won last year's Triple Crown on Justify. For Bob Baffert, Mike Smith left without a mount with a scratch at Omaha Beach. He is all of a sudden back in the mix now. He will replace Corey Lannery on Cutting Humor for Starlight Racing, and trainer Todd Pletcher, managing partner of Starlight, Jack Wolf, said Starlight would pay both Smith and Lannery the customary 10% of any purses earned. Mig, how big of a deal is this to be a jockey like Corey Lannery? You're so excited about the day coming up, 24 hours before the race, a little bit more than that, you're taking off your mount.
Well, it's a pride thing. You know, any professional athlete takes a lot of pride in what they do. And I'm sure it stings from that perspective. But I think if you want to liken it to another sport, think about a baseball coach taking out a particular player to pinch hit because he thought he was better suited to that situation. You're trying to do what's best for the team in the Kentucky Derby. Everybody's taking what they think is their best shot.
And let me just say, to be fair, they're required to pay both riders. It's not out of generosity they're doing it. They have given him the call, so if they want to put Mike on or another rider, they have to pay Corey Lannery. It's not some great act of benevolence.
Before you say, well, he was 30-1 on the morning line, Cutting Humor, we'll dismiss him. First Derby win for Mike Smith, Giacomo, back in 2005.
Really, the good news is that people have now heard of Cutting Humor.
Well,
always something kind
He's
to
on
say.
the radar now.
Hey, who else came from the Sunland Park Derby?
Mind that bird.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I know. I bet him. He lost. I did.
Did you that day? Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. The Borderland Derby, that I think.
Well, in our feature here in the Flat Out, Rocketry, this is a horse who'd been exclusively on turf his entire career. All of a sudden, 3 starts back. Jimmy Jerkin says, let's give him a shot on dirt, and he winds up winning back-to-back stakes.
And it's turned out that what he really wanted to do was go long on the dirt. And I think there's 2 questions. Can he bounce back off a poor performance last time, albeit in a race that was too short for him? And is a 1 3/8 even a little too short for him?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Could a 1 3/8 actually be a little bit short for him? And sometimes trainers get confused with a horse that wants to go long in the morning, that they're not any good, so they try them on a surface like turf, because horses that run long don't tend to show speed or aren't flashy in the morning.
And also, they're going to get more opportunities to go long on the turf. We don't run that many of these long races on the dirt. We'll see what happens with him. I just can't get past his last race. And also, with the rain, you have to wonder, and you just don't know if he's going to handle the slop, even though a lot of turf horses do.
Yeah, but I think he's proven he's a dirt horse, just a long-winded dirt horse.
Mile 3/8 might be too short for him, though.
Yeah, seriously.
Not even kidding.
Yeah.
Weather and track conditions, they are brought to you by Piranha Fly Spray, the preferred fly spray of Belmont Park. Piranha on, pests gone. We are technically still listed as fast. We are off the turf for the rest of the afternoon here at Belmont. That is a developing situation because we got a bunch of rain that just came down. So we'll wait and update that track condition. In the meantime, a little bonus coverage here. We're going to be able to bring you race 5 because of delays. 7 furlongs. New York bred $40,000 claiming race. It kicks off the Naira Bets. Late pick 5. Dr. Lloyd favored right now from the inside. Let's check in for the first time this afternoon with Maggie Wolfendale.
Hey, Greg, and unfortunately about 30 to 45 minutes ago, we had a complete deluge, which has now taken both races 7 and 9 off the turf, and I know the board still says fast, but that's just not true. As of now, we have a sloppy track. I mean, the track was open when that rain came, so it was harrowed, so therefore all the rain got into this track, and if you kind of look behind me, you can see that the rain is draining off of the track right now, and I actually watched our one outrider walk out, and his pony's hooves, his horse's hooves, were sinking down into this track. So this is a very wet, tiring track. Now, typically when rain is expected, they will seal the track. So therefore the rain just rolls off. But because this was a bit of an unexpected storm cell, this rain has gotten into the track. So we're dealing with very, very sloppy conditions, Greg. And also, the horses have been in the paddock for today's 5th race for about a half an hour now. But when I was just back there, everybody was minding their P's and Q's and nobody too upset by having to stay in the paddock this long. Guys?
Yeah, it's been a little while. We sometimes have that load time in the gate. Maybe we should have the standing around time here for the paddock because it's been a little while here for this 5th race. All right, in the meantime, we'll get you back to Belmont here as we get closer to a post parade coming up for this 5th race. Again, kicks off that Naira Bets late pick 5. Not just Oaks Day. We had a superstar returning on the undercard today under the Twin Spires at Churchill Downs. The undefeated newspaper of record, winner of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, made her return highly anticipated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going into this race, she was really in a lot of ways the most exciting 3-year-old filly, if not one of the 3-year-olds in the country, if not the world, talking about trying to get her to come to Ascot, more likely thinking she'd come to Belmont. But it's horse racing, and things don't always work out the way they look going in.
No, not at all. And you've got to, certainly you got to run the race. I thought a couple of factors, though, went in as we watch it. I thought she just got too keen-handed.
I agree. This is a fast pace. They've actually upgraded the turf course condition to firm. That would be like if we actually insisted that our track right now is fast and not sloppy. It's not firm. It's nowhere close to firm. And she went 23 and change and 47 and change. She was flying, Richie.
And make 6-month layoff. I mean, as a jockey, you expect to have to deal with this kind of issue?
Well, she's going to be fresh. I mean, she's a good filly, and coming back off layoffs, they tend to be fresh. Now, she kind of took a little step out, and I thought Brush the Gate had to be corrected, and I think that might have set her off a little bit. And you could see the posture of Irad Ortiz, hands up off her neck. She pulled for far too long, and it's really hard for a horse to pull, particularly in demanding ground like this, and find anything.
And let me also say something else. I don't want to take away from the performance of the winner, Concrete Rose. She ran a gigantic race to beat her. It's not as though Newspaper Record ran really poorly and this horse was lucky to win. I don't want to diminish what the winner did. Obviously, it's a real setback, though, for Newspaper Record, and the question becomes if she can learn to settle and if she's going to be able to get longer distances.
Well, I think Irad has to learn a little something out of this race. The fact that I thought he maybe just kind of turned her on a little bit because she broke, and I won't say even awkwardly, she just kind of took a step out and brushed the side of the gate. But he can see, even here, his posture. He's still up in the air. He's kind of nursing her. And then all of a sudden, it feels like it dawned on him like, uh-oh, I might not have all I thought I did.
Yeah, I agree, because she got away a little bit here, but, she just didn't sustain it. But I'm going to say also, this was a different Concrete Rose than the one that we saw, who got absolutely drilled by her in the Breeders' Cup on the same course.
Well, horses change a lot from 2 to 3. Maybe Concrete Rose took a huge step forward. We don't know whether Newspaper of Record has taken that jump from 2 to 3, as brilliant as she was as a 2-year-old. And I always liken it to, the best athlete starting high school isn't always the best athlete coming out of high school. Maybe the group caught up a little bit. Interesting, too, Concrete Rose did not change leads through the stretch and still finished with resolution.
And also, Newspaper Record only beat the others by a couple of lengths. That's just not really her race.
Sure.
So whether it was conditioned, whether she needed the race, I don't know, and it's hard to know, and we'll see where she goes from here.
We will see. It was a starting point, comeback race off a 6-month layoff. Obviously, she was very keen early, but we'll see if she get back to her winning ways in start number 2. Obviously, this was a huge upset. I don't know if we we'd witness a bigger upset all weekend.
No, there was no horse that was going to be that kind of favorite, and she's a very highly anticipated runner, and she was disappointing, no doubt about it. We'll see what happens.
Well, you know, a good old horseman told me once, you never throw a horse out over one race, and you never anoint them a champion over one race. You can forgive one effort, and it wasn't a bad effort.
No, I agree. She didn't run terribly. It's disappointing, obviously, and disappointing for the connections. You have so many high expectations.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the drawing board, but there are plenty of good horses that have run clunkers in their career and come back and done very, very good things.
Yeah.
And if that's her clunker, not the
right.
worst of clunkers, as you get a look live here at Belmont Park back in New York. Look at the track. It has been listed now as sloppy and sealed with that, as Maggie mentioned, that deluge of rain that we got it came down pretty steady for about a half an hour or so.
Yeah, and they're working on announcing new post times, obviously. I mean, just so people realize, we were supposed to be running the 6th race in about 2 minutes, and we're still waiting for the horse to leave the paddock for the 5th race.
So in the meantime, quick break. We will be back. We'll have a post-parade, we do believe, for the 5th race when we return. Coming up, will the West Coast reign supreme on Oaks in Derby Day? Bella Fina, Santa Anita Oaks winner, has been perfect as a 3-year-old, and Roadster, part of that trio for Bob Baffert. Are they ready to roll in Kentucky? We'll be back.
Warfront has sired 8 champions and 10 millionaires. Recent Grade 1 winners include Homesman, Fog of War, Lancaster Bomber, and European champion U.S. Navy Flag, plus 2019 Kentucky Derby hopeful War of Will. He's also sire of the highest price yearling sold in North America in 2018, and international super sire on all surfaces and all fronts. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Runhappy is simply super. He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu.
No medication, no problem. Runhappy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the Races. Track being worked on here at Belmont Park as it's been downgraded to sloppy and sealed. Mig, what's going on here with the tractors?
Well, this is the 3rd time around for these tractors with the floats on, and what I think is there was so much standing water from the amount of rain we got in such a short period of time that it's basically kind of trying to squeeze some of that water out of it, Andy, or at least get it to run off so there's not so much standing water on the surface.
Yeah, it's an unusual circumstance. You know, sometimes it's just a storm comes out of nowhere, and it basically catches you with your pants down. And you can't just materialize the tracks to roll the track, especially a 1.5 mile oval like Belmont Park, where it's got to take a good 5 to 8 minutes to just get around the racetrack.
Yeah,
so
easily.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 10 minutes. And you can't just get them on the track, so tough spot.
Look at the races. We'll be bringing you a little extra bonus coverage here, but we will miss the last, unfortunately. Races 5 through 8 at Belmont, featuring the flat out. That is our feature race in the 8th. Sloppy and off in Oaklawn races 6 through 9. These races presented by Windstar Farm, the farm that pays you back. Hit the late pick 4 at Churchill today on Oaks Day for a $2 million bonus on that late pick 4. Tomorrow, if you hit the Derby Day late pick 4, you're in a share of huge 3 million point hit split bonus. Visit nairabets.com for all the details.
That Colonel Sanders?
Apparently.
Oh.
Oaks is coming up later this
Hungry.
afternoon. And Bella Fina, do you care to share why you're against the West Coast filly?
Well, first of all, horses develop reputations sometimes because they win races. And you win races because you're better than the horses you face. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're a super horse because you win all the time. Now, I'm not going to disagree that she's the horse to beat in this race. She has run basically close to, well, she hasn't run necessarily much faster in the last race, the horse that Richie and I like, Champagne Anyone, but consistently, and through her career, she's run races fast, if not faster than everybody. But she's beating up on weaker fields, and the one bad race she's run in her career was when she shipped to Churchill Downs last fall.
She was in heat, and sometimes fillies can noticeably run worse when that is the case. Simon Callahan addressed that during that time.
Okay,
so she had an
if
excuse.
she doesn't win today, is she in heat again?
Well, listen, I think to say we're against her is maybe a little bit strong.
Right, I picked her third. It's not like I think she can't win.
But I think she's very vulnerable. And she's coming out of short fields in California where she's getting very soft trips, and she's dominating the same horses. Now, the horse that, we both landed on, unbeknownst to each other when we talked about it earlier, was Champagne Anyone. And I loved her last time because I had been waiting for trainer Ian Wilkes to put blinkers on her. She was a filly that was running in stops and starts. There was no continuity to her run before, almost like running with the emergency brake on. She actually put herself in the game and stayed in the bridle, Andy, and finished it, and I think she's improving at the right time.
Well, that's the other thing I like about her is that she's doing what you want to see at horses this time of the year, pointing towards big races. She's improving with every start. Now, in fairness to Bellafina, she was already good enough to win this race, so she's running the same race as her as she's running, but in truth, she's actually running a little slower with each race, and she's not getting better with distance, and she has to get a mile and an eighth, and I think Champagne for Anyone is a horse that's going to improve with more distance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And her trainer's a trainer that builds a horse into better and better races. His son-in-law, Chris Landaros, a rider a lot of people haven't heard about. Extremely talented young man. I had the opportunity to ride with him in California, and I've been very impressed with the way he handles himself.
And here, as we take a look at the field, Bellafina, she is the 2-to-1 morning line favorite. You and a lot of people have heard this out there, that she is not working the sharpest as well leading up to the Oaks.
I've talked to three completely distinct people, different people, and they have all said to me that she is not working well. I don't know if you've heard anything.
Well, I've heard the same thing, and I honestly believe that's more useful information than saying a horse is doing good, because most of them are good horses, and they should be doing good. So when you hear consistently that a horse that is favored isn't doing as well as you'd like to see, to me, that's more useful information.
We'll see how it plays out. Not far off. Race 11 at Churchill today, the Kentucky Oaks. Bellafina coming in from the West Coast, the morning line favorite.
Which shall we run first, the 5th at Belmont or the Kentucky Oaks?
At this point, I would say the Oaks is getting closer. We go to Oaklawn right now. Hot Springs, Arkansas. 6 furlongs coming up in this maiden special weight. Their track condition listed as good, and we have an even money favorite in Lupaloo. Trainer Chris Hartman. Off the last few races, you would think, okay, absolutely, this is the horse to beat in the race, but now this horse has had 7 starts, 4 second-place finishes, and just can't seem to break through.
Yeah, these are the kind of horses that, especially at short prices, you're just supposed to try to beat. Doesn't mean that she's not going to win, but I'm going to try to beat her with a number 5, Justice of War. You know me, turn back.
Well, turn back, the right connections, that's for sure, Steve Asmussen. And I don't like to see all those seconds. It just tells me a horse is, and getting beat narrowly in some of these. One of those should have won his way, right?
At short prices as well, right?
So this is a horse that's not really showing that killer instinct at crunch time. I was wondering about the other Asmussen, the 10 Power End.
Yeah.
Ran really well first time. Didn't run as well when shipped to Oaklawn, but maybe this horse can rebound.
That one for Bloom Racing Stables. Mig mentioned breaks out of post 10. First time out was 13-1. Got bumped around a little bit. Still wound up second in a 12-horse field. So today, start number 3 at a racetrack that he has already been over before in late February. Loading up here, race 6 at Oaklawn. Starts at pick 5. And the favorite from post 9, Lupaloo, 4 seconds and 7 starts. Let's go to Vic Stauffer for the call.
Three more. Number 9, Lupaloo, unseated the rider behind the gate. Nope, that's number 11. Excuse me, number 11, Oxen, unseated Kelsey Haar. Looks like there's going to be a delay.
Well, you can see jockey Kelsey Haar there in the background got tossed from her mount Oxen, and at least good news, standing up on her own power right now, but causing a delay. And you see walking it off, it looks like. And
that's what you want to see immediately. The rider get up, shake it off. Sometimes you get a little stunned. Most tracks will wait a long time to apprehend a loose horse, Andy, and put him back in the gate. Where at Naira, we tend to err on the side of caution. If a horse gets loose, well, usually it's a pretty quick scratch.
I'll tell you something. I have been amazed at some other tracks, and I'm going to pat ourselves in the back at Naira. We protect the horses at all costs and the public as well, because you don't want to bet on a horse that runs off and shouldn't be running the races. And I imagine this horse could get scratched in here. And they're probably taking them out to give people more time to bet the 11 as well, that want to rebet the race. But, usually if something happened, they won't run the horse.
This is an ominous beginning. I get back on the set with you guys, and we've just had one delay after another. I'm getting a little nervous.
Yeah, what's going on, Mig? No correlation, I'm sure. All right, so the 11 been scratched And now it's a 10-horse race. So it should be well, are they going to back them all out? We see the 4 backing out.
I saw the inside horses come out.
Yeah, they're going to reload everybody. So it will be a bit of a delay here from the 6th at Oaklawn. So we got some time. Let's come back here while we have a moment to Belmont Park. And we're still waiting for a post parade coming up here for race 5. Let's check in with Maggie Wolfendale.
Guys, the tractors have gone around the track here 5 times. So these horses here in the paddock, as I'm just getting yelled at here, some people have taken tack off these horses. They weren't supposed to. These horses will be going out momentarily. Bit of confusion here in the paddock, to say the least. But I will say there has been a scratch here by Eddie Barker of his horse in here. That's number 4, Strap Hanger. And he has also scratched his horse in the next race, guys. That is I Have Another. So I'll be back here with a little more update as they are loading in the gate at Oaklawn. Guys?
All right, Maggie, thank you for that. So the 4 out in race 5 at Belmont, and also the 1 out in race 6 that starts the late pick 4 at Belmont as well. As we take you back to Oaklawn, reloading with the late scratch of the 11 in here that tossed jockey Kelsey Haar. So Kelsey appeared to be okay. We saw her walking off. That's good news. But the 11 comes out of the race. They reload, and we'll see if Loopaloo from post 9 can break through that second-itis.
You're just happy you got to say Loopaloo again.
I love that name.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Oompa Loompa.
And Loopaloo settles for second again.
It would appear to be this would be we were talking about this earlier with a different horse. I think we have coming up today at Belmont, Meg, when you and I were going over some of the races. We saw a horse that loves to run second. This looks like a horse maybe you could key in second.
Well, I call them very polite horses. They get right there and they go, no, after you, please. And I think some of that has to do with their training. They train in company and they never get to leave their company. So they think in their mind they're doing the right thing, staying with a horse instead of running by a horse.
It's Monongahela who likes to run a lot of seconds.
That's correct. He is a bit of a hanger. And Richie and I are old enough to remember a horse named Jacques Hu. It was one of the most famous camera-shy horses in history.
We're all set.
Like his picture taken.
Vic Stauffer with the call once again, race 6, Oaklawn.
They're at the post. They're off. Golden Scepter stumbled badly at the rail. Loopaloo impressed and Power End shows speed. Golden Scepter recovers alongside Around the Dial and Justice of War. Noble Egyptian is next. Then comes Classic Road, followed by the 2 trailers, which are a Fleet Sniper and Curlin's on Fire. It is Loopaloo into the far turn, a half length in front of Power End and Golden Scepter, second and third together. Impressed is right there between horses as well. Then comes to the far outside in Classic Road. Classic Road's going to go from 5th all the way up into 3rd in the white. Meanwhile, Loopaloo is traveling very well at the top of the stretch. He's opened up a 3-length lead. Around the Dial is next, then Justice of War and Noble Egyptian. Still at the back of the pack are a Fleet Sniper and Curlin's on Fire. Loopaloo, the one to catch at the top of the stretch, and he gallops away 3 lengths in front. Then comes Classic Road, followed by Power's End and Golden Scepter at the rail, but Loopaloo is just very strong up front, and now he's just running up the score. Loopaloo is now 8 in front of Classic Road. Late run for Justice of War. Loopaloo won by 8. Classic Road was second. Impressed got 3rd. Close for 4th between Golden Scepter and Justice of War.
All right, that's how you make a statement and say, I'm done being second and break your maiden.
Well, it's good for horses like this that don't like to get in a battle to be well in front of the other horses.
Yeah, he was all by himself. He had broken through that plane, and he said, I'm tired of finishing second, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And he was actually pretty impressive.
Wins by, 8+ lengths? Coming up here, easy victory here for Loopaloo, son of Curlin. Career start number 8 with the victory. Let's go downstairs to Maggie in the paddock.
Well, guys, we did get the official word that races here at Belmont are canceled. I spoke to our track superintendent, Glenn Kozak, who said, look, we got an inch plus of rain in 25 minutes, and the track just was not able to recover in the time it would be reasonable to continue to run these races. He said the track is coming together, but that it just would take too long, and these horses were in here an hour with their tack on. So we've let those horses go home, and we will have to reschedule the remainder of our races. But I am pleased to be joined here by Junior Alvarado. And Junior, you will be aboard Tax tomorrow in the Kentucky Derby. He's a horse that has come close in all of his New York bred preps, including winning the Withers as well. So Junior, how are you feeling about Tax heading into this one for Danny Gargan?
Yeah, definitely, very excited just to be in that race, and definitely, I think I have a great chance in the race. The horse hasn't done anything wrong at all. We just won and finished second a couple times, and I just think, we'll see how that race develops the first part of the race. Hopefully, he's a good break horse, so hopefully he'll help me out of there, to get a forward position, and, we'll take it from there.
And he is a horse that is forwardly placed. So, Junior, wishing you the best of luck. Also on Durkin's Call, the New York bred in the Pat Day Mile. Junior, best of luck in Kentucky.
All right, yeah, Durkin's Call, he's doing good too. I've been working, he's been doing great. It's a little tough race, but, like I said, he's been doing great. You got to take a chance sometimes. Sometimes he paid off. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get one of those two at least.
All right, well, we'll be rooting for you, the New York bred connection, as we will be right back here on America's Day at the Races.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at nairabets.com.
So my name is Robbie Herzl. I'm the yearly manager here at Claiborne Farm, and we've got the first crop of Runhappies this year. Overall, I'm very, very pleased with them. So first we have a colt out of Rapid Repair. He's a really nice colt. Very happy with how he's come along as a yearling. So there was a lot of demand for the weanlings last year. They sold for over 6 times their stud fee, and we're really excited for the yearlings to come through the sales, and we're expecting big things from them.
Runhappy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome to America's Day at the Races, and those joining us on Fox Sports 2. Great to have you with us. Our show brought to you in part by America's Best Racing, the go-to site covering the sport and lifestyle. Visit americasbestracing.net today. Some big developments over the last few hours concerning the Kentucky Derby. We have another defection. The morning line favorite, Omaha Beach, we learned out with a breathing issue now. Cal, has been scratched from the Kentucky Derby. Foot issue. They tried to soak that foot in Epsom salts and thought it might be ready to go by today. Scratch time, though, to determine if you're going to go forward was 9 a.m. He was not ready.
Can't run a horse if he's not physically able to run the race, Richie. It doesn't matter if it's a lower-level claiming race or the Kentucky Derby.
Well, and you had said it earlier. The horse has to come first. That's the most important thing. And when you get a trainer of Kieran McLaughlin's caliber, he's not going to take a chance with a high-caliber colt, very well-bred colt at that, when there's plenty of racing season to go. I mean, we can have a great second half of the season with him and the likes of Omaha Beach.
Greg Wolf, Andy Serling, Richard Migliori back with us. Good to see him on set again. We're happy to have him back. By the way, concerning Cal, Kieran McLaughlin says the Derby out, the Preakness out. We're going to see him likely pointed to a campaign later in the summer, so it's not an issue that's really going to affect him. Just going to affect his Triple Crown run. Meanwhile, even bigger news concerning Triple Crown winning jockey from last year, Hall of Famer Mike Smith. We thought he was done. Going to be no Derby this year for him. He was on Omaha Beach. Of course, that horse scratched with an entrapped epiglottis, a breathing issue. All of a sudden, at the last minute, it's determined he will be aboard Cutting Humor for Starlight Racing and trainer Todd Pletcher replacing Corey Lanery.
Well, and, you know, there's history there. Mike rode Justify last year. Starlight Racing, Jack Wolf owned a piece of Justify. I'm sure that's who they feel most confident in. And it stings as a rider. I feel for Corey Lanery. You don't want to replace like that. You feel like maybe it's a little bit disrespectful. But I liken it to a coach in baseball putting a pinch hitter in because he thinks that guy fits a particular situation better, and they're just trying to do what they think is best to win the Derby.
And again, and it's protocol, but both Mike Smith, Corey Lanery, whatever purse earnings are made in the race, will both earn the customary 10% of any purses earned in that race. But it's Mike Smith who gets the last-minute replacement call. He will be aboard Cutting Humor, who is a big price morning line, but he comes out of a race where we saw Mind That Bird come back to win the Kentucky Derby. And, of course, Mike Smith has some history with long shots. He won with Giacomo.
Yeah, this horse, even if he ran back the race at Sunland, would have trouble winning this race. Who knows? He's a lightly raced horse, could improve. He's going to get a lot more press because Mike Smith is riding him than he's likely to get after the race is over.
Well, you had made that comment earlier. Cutting Humor, a lot more people know who he is now than they did before the jockey switch. And listen, it is the Derby. It is a race. We've seen upsets before. He would be one of the horses that would surprise me.
Did you like Giacomo going into the Derby back in 05?
I actually thought he had a chance.
You did?
I'm going to tell you, if you like Giacomo here, you don't have to like Cutting Humor. I mean,
Fair
I know
enough.
you're trying to
just
make an analogy, but
my wife bet on Giacomo.
Long shots, they can happen in the race every now and again.
Really?
And Mike Smith happened to be on the horse who did it in the Kentucky Derby. Here at Belmont Park, racing, unfortunately, has been canceled due to weather conditions. We just got an absolute deluge of rain in about a half an hour span, and about 1.5 inches of rain landed on the racetrack. They were not able to get it together in time where it was deemed to be safe riding conditions, and as a result of that, Mig, we've canceled the rest of the card today at Belmont.
Well, again, safety first, and I applaud Naira for always taking the lead on that. They do what's right by the equine athletes and the human athletes, the jockeys, and it's unfortunate, but you know what? We'll race tomorrow. It was a lot of rain got in the track in a short period of time.
And we'll bring these races back another day. That's the other situation. You'll see today's feature, the Flat Out. That'll come back. We'll probably bring it back next week, and we'll see some of these other races as well.
We do have live racing, though. We have action from Oaklawn Park, Hot Springs, Arkansas. We'll get back there or out there in just a little minute. For our other viewers watching around the country and regional networks, we had shown them the 6th race. We have race 7 coming up in about 18 minutes. Their track actually has been upgraded now to fast. Of course, tomorrow's the Derby. Today, it is the fillies running for the Lilies, and Bella Fina, morning line favorite, coming in from the West Coast, and she has been brilliant, really, in her entire career, but certainly in her return as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to be fair, Greg, you like her a lot more than I do. That doesn't make me right and you wrong. I just wonder, I mean, I look at her, and she doesn't seem to be a horse that's improving to me. I think she's beating up on horses that are inferior to her, and don't get me wrong, she's been very good. She's not of star quality of the best fillies we've seen in the last 20 years. She may just have to be better than the field she's running against today. It's a much more competitive bunch today, Richie.
I think it's much more competitive. It's a much bigger field. She started 3 times this year, and she's faced 11 rivals. I mean, there's a 5-horse field, a 5-horse field, and a 4-horse field.
Not as many as she's facing today.
Exactly. It's a bigger field. And I think she's just been dominating the same horses with soft trips. Now, listen, I think she's a terrific filly. I would love to own her. But I think she's vulnerable today as the favorite. And I think there's other ways you can go. And from the reports we hear, she's not training with the enthusiasm that she normally does.
That's the big concern, that maybe more than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, and Richie had touched on this earlier. You hear so much about these workouts, the Derby, and everybody's going to talk about the workouts, Derby. The least surprising thing before the Derby is that a lot of horses are working well. Yeah. These are exceptional horses trained by exceptional trainers running in the race of their life. If they're not training well coming into these races, when are they going to train well? And as Richie had said, you want to know about the ones that aren't training well, not the ones that are training well.
Well, and particularly if it's out of character for a particular horse. Bella Fina usually trains with a lot of enthusiasm. You know, you can see in the morning she's got some flash to her. And if she's not showing that flash as a player, that's better information because maybe it leads you to another direction.
But we've seen horses also not training well come back and win. Fusace Pegasus flipped over before the Kentucky Derby. He'd go on to win that race. We saw Tiz now, I believe, the second time he won it when he won it back-to-back years.
The
Breeders' Cup, excuse me. Yeah, he was not training well at all leading up to that race.
No question about it. I mean, it's like the whole thing. If a horse wins the Derby that people were saying was working really well, everybody reminds you how well he's working. When the 7 horses that you hear how great they're working for the Derby run 13th, 15th, 16th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, nobody mentions to you how well they worked before the race.
Sure, and it's a fair point. I think the 2 horses that you brought up, though, Fusace Pegasus and Tiz Now, were horses that were more quirky mentally. And that's what led Fusace Pegasus to flip over. Maybe he didn't even actually flip over. He lost sign and he slipped.
Reared up, yeah.
And then Tiz Now, he was a horse that at times would just say, hey, you know what? I'm not in the mood. I'm not training this morning. But they usually showed up on game day.
Absolutely did. As for Bellafina, I think there was more concern really 2 starts back with that Las Virgenes when it was a very narrow margin of victory. And then it seemed in the Santa Anita Oaks, she seemed to get back to her old ways a little bit, although you were not as impressed with that race?
Well, I mean, look right below her in the PPs. The horse that she beat by 5 1/4 lengths is Flora de Lamar. She's run 3 times. She's run a 78 buyer, a 67 buyer, and then she improved to an 81 buyer when second to Bellafina. She's just not beating up on particularly good horses. Now, to be fair, this is not the strongest Kentucky Oaks we've had in years. This group reminds me of the horses that were finishing well behind Songbird when she was running a few years ago. But that doesn't mean that horses can't move forward, and they're supposed to move forward. And the horse that Richie and I both like, we're expecting that she's going to move forward.
And that is Champagne Anyone. Made an equipment change last time out, and that was an equipment change that you thought she needed.
Yeah, I had been watching her for a while, and she was a filly that wasn't running with any continuity. A lot of stops and starts in her run. I always likened it to a horse running with the emergency brake on. I was waiting for the blinkers. I didn't know that they would give her more speed, but it did, and she stayed in the bridle and put herself in the race.
She just feels like a horse that's putting it together, and you had also said this earlier. Ian Wilkes, her trainer, is a trainer that's very patient. You're rarely going to see Ian win with a first-time starter. Ian's not going to mind if they run lousy 2 or 3 times sometimes because he has his eye on the prize, and this horse is coming together at the right time.
Champagne Anyone, Ian Wilkes, 6 Column Stables. Chris Landeros will be aboard, added the blinkers for that Grade 2 victory, Gulfstream Park Oaks. Going to be a fascinating rendition of this race this afternoon. We will see how it plays out. It is not that far off. Post time 6:12 Eastern time. We'll talk more about it in a bit. We have OU prices for those who are watching on MSG Plus. A little bit earlier on, it joined us at the top of our show. FS2 just joined us around 4:30. Lupaloo, who had a little bit of a second-itis, breaks through in a major way and wins by open lengths.
Yeah. Well, for horses that don't like to win photos, it's very good for them to be 4 in front top the stretch, Richie.
Yeah, he had broken through that plane, got away from his company, got very comfortable, and he looked the winner from the 3/8 pole, and he finally really sealed the deal.
Jackie Rojas, D&D Stables, Stuart Elliott, and Chris Hartman, your winning connections. Career start number 8. Lupaloo breaks through, and actually, I wrote it down somewhere, and now I can't find it, but massive prices everywhere down the line, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in there. So able to create some value underneath with that heavy favorite at 3 to 5. Race 7, entry-level allowance. It's a mile to 16th coming up. Marzo, 9 to 5 favorite for trainer Brad Cox, who was a beaten favorite each of the last 2 outings.
And Brad Cox has really picked it up. His barn had not been doing well earlier at the Oaklawn meet, but they've been the usual Brad Cox overdrive lately. But as you say, this horse has lost consecutive races at 6 to 5 and 8 to 5.
Yeah, he is such a good trainer, though. His horses seem like when they hit a form cycle, they hold it for a really long time.
No, Brad's a terrific trainer, and he has a terrific operation. I mean, he is one of the, it's interesting. He's a trainer that I thought had just appeared in the scene like 4 years ago. He's actually been training his own for quite a while.
Get signed up, started play along just in time for the Kentucky Derby. Use that promo code ROSES. Bet $25 to win on a horse in the Derby. You'll get that money back if you finish 2nd or 3rd, and you also get the $200 bonus within your first 14 days of wagering. $200 in your account. Go to NYRABets.com for details or download the NYRA Bets app. Racing canceled at Belmont. We have live action from Oaklawn Park. We're 12 minutes away from race 7, and much more talk on the Derby and Oaks coming up.
Well, our summer cruise is here at Spruce Lane Farm, and he's been a really intelligent horse since he got on the farm.
He's just got great balance and presence. He's got a really good mind, and he does everything that we like to do so far. Our plans with this colt are probably to take him to Saratoga or to Keeneland Book 1 or 2. He fits those. We paid $250,000 for him, so he was an expensive horse, but that's where he belongs.
Runhappy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
An undefeated graded stakes winner on the track, Algorithms was the nation's #1 sire of 2-year-olds in 2017 by percentage of winners. His top runners include Rich Mommy, winner of the Grade 3 Sugar Swirl, multiple stakes winner and graded stakes performer Recruiting Ready, stakes winner and graded stakes performer Vanish, and recent stakes winners Taylor Spirit and Tracy Racing. In the ring, his 2-year-olds have brought prices up to $300,000. Algorithms, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at nairabets.com.
We are back on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2 and other regional networks across the country. You can earn a little extra on your Oaks and Derby Exactas with the Naira Bets app. All Oaks and Derby Exactas hit on the Naira Bets app earn a 10% winner's bonus, capped at $20 per day. Visit nairabets.com for all the details. Tomorrow, it's Derby Day, 145th edition. They are expecting rain in the Louisville area.
They're more jinxed than we are. It really is amazing how it rains there every Derby weekend these days. I mean, there was a period of time where it never rained, right? Yeah. Now it never doesn't rain.
It can't dampen the spirits of everyone coming out to see this incredible race.
It is a fun race. I got a question for you guys because we got a little time.
Okay.
What's your favorite Kentucky Derby that you can remember?
That's a good one. That's a really good question.
Do you have one that comes to mind?
I'm going through my mental inventory. I mean, I'm going to probably go back further before I was even riding. Bold Forbes.
Yeah, that was a great Derby.
I really, Bold Forbes, Honest Pleasure, great rivalry. I don't know if Greg was born yet.
76.
It's tough to say if it was my favorite, but it was the first one that I really honed in on. Is when I first started working in horse racing full time, but it was a Fusaichi Pegasus Kentucky Derby, and then I wound up going to the Preakness that next year on that sloppy racetrack.
I was shocked that he lost that Preakness.
Yeah.
Just shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he had his issues, and it was a muddy track and a gooey track. And Red Bull was a very good horse. But I thought that Fusaichi Pegasus was really the real deal. I think if he had been sound and caught fast racetracks, things could have worked out
and it kind of makes sense. That's why he was a little bit mentally quirky, because he was probably always working through some physical issues. But Red Bullet got an absolutely brilliant ride from Jerry Bailey that day. And Fusaichi Pegasus, if you go back and watch that Derby, Kent DeZormo looked like he was driving a car through traffic. He just would move to a spot and idle and move to another spot. And he looked as fun to ride as a horse could be.
I mean, that was a joke, that Derby.
Yeah.
He was so much the best. And Richie's not mentioning it. You made the lead coming. We were practically made the lead turning for home,
well,
right?
He pretty much followed me through there, and I took the lead for about, I don't know, 50 yards. I'm in front. My face started to tingle. I'm 300 yards from the Holy Grail, and all of a sudden I saw this horse go by with those colorful, bright silks. Who is that? Well, Fusaichi Pegasus.
He was an overlay at $6.
How much he, $4 million at auction, I believe he went for. And I actually covered his maiden race out on the West Coast, so I really was following him pretty intently. But yeah, couldn't believe it what happened the Preakness Day.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say his last win was here in the Jerome.
Yeah.
An amazing race, and you were in there in hook and ladder.
He
you
flew by me
fourth.
that day,
El
too.
Corridor was in that race. Albert the
Good
Great,
race.
who came back to win the
it was a
Jockey Club
stacked
Gold
field.
was third, and then he just fell apart before the Breeders' Cup, unfortunately.
Back to this year's edition, and can you remember someone coming into a Kentucky Derby this loaded with 3 legitimate top chances like Baffert is this year as we take a look at Roadster and game winner in the Santa Anita Derby?
I know that there were some betting sites that had Bob Baffert basically pick him to win this year's Derby after Omaha Beach came out. How much can you argue with it, Greg? Or Richie?
Well, you really can't. I mean, you'd have to go back to the 40s with the Jones boys, Ben and Jimmy Jones, father and son team, training for the powerhouse Calumet Farm at that time, to compare any other trainer or trainers to Bob Baffert, the way he's dominated the Triple Crown over the last 20 years.
Word was, ahead of that Santa Anita Derby, Bob Baffert was in pretty good spirits, and it wasn't because of game winner. And Roadster kind of lived up to the billing that day. what do you think now as we move into the Kentucky Derby with Roadster? Can he follow that up?
Well, Roadster's obviously a very terrific horse, but I'm a trip handicapper, and I don't think you can watch that Santa Anita Derby and feel as though Roadster ran the best race.
No, Game Winner ran the best race. He took it to them around the turn. Now, that being said, I think Game Winner's a little difficult to ride because he's a little bit one-paced, and you're not able to count on him to pick it up when you need him to pick it up. So it's kind of like a bicycle, right? You're pedaling, and then he keeps going.
Well, I mean, on the surface things, you would say Joel Rosario didn't give him a great ride, right? He was 4 wide on all the boat turns. He was aggressive. But maybe that's what we're getting to, right? Because he needs to get after the horse to keep him in the race, and that could work against him.
Yeah.
The big mystery horse in this year's Kentucky Derby is a horse who's actually making history. First time ever a Japanese-bred horse will compete in the Kentucky Derby, and that is Master Fencer. A lot of things going on in here. This horse was actually 4th on the list in terms of the Japan road to the Kentucky Derby. A couple of horses he faced were ahead of him, and of course, including a horse who beat him named Der Flug last start. Der Flug was making his debut and beat him, Master Fencer, who was making his 6th start last out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know how to really judge him because I'm not up on that form, but it seems like he's really up against it in that spot. The one thing you could say, he's the only horse in the field that's run 1.25 miles and twice, albeit on the turf. And his race at Kyoto was actually okay because I rode at Kyoto and it's uphill the last 1/8 of a mile, so you know he's going to be fit. I just don't think he's fast enough.
Well, and those tracks, I've covered a lot of racing over in Japan. I've been over there a few times to cover races. Those tracks, and Mig, you know this as well, I'm sure, but they are a lot more sand in those racetracks, and you really kind of sink into those. So does that give you a little more fitness?
Well, again, from a fitness standpoint, I have no doubt he's fit for the 1.25 mile. He's fit to go 1.5 miles. But you give any horse enough time, they can go any distance.
Right, they can all get it.
I just don't think he stacks up to what he's going to face.
I will say one thing, and you guys will remember this. His sire, Just Away, we were covering the Dubai World Cup when he won the 1 mile and 1/8 race, the duty-free.
Right.
That was one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen.
If you weren't impressed with him going in, I'll throw this out. He went 5 furlongs in a recent work. 105-1. They train a little differently in Japan, right?
I finished a narrowly beaten 2nd in that workout, actually.
Yeah, well, you can compare that work certainly to Maximum Security, and that'll look fast because Maximum Security doesn't break out of a 2-minute lick.
He does have a good closing kick.
Morning.
We'll give him that. He's going to be very slow early in this race. His connections seem to think he'll be coming late. We will see.
Hopefully he doesn't slow up late. That would be really bad.
But, again, he was beat by a first-time starter in his most recent race.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be using him in my play. He might not even be on the Greg Wolf tickets. That's how crazy he is.
Julien Leperoux, he will have the mountain. Here's what he had to say leading into tomorrow's Derby.
Well, it looks like he comes from way back. He's a closer, so I'm sure that's going to happen. Especially over there, the speed is usually faster than over there. But, over there, the track is sand, it's totally different than here. So hopefully he handled that one better than he does sand. You got to see how he handles here, and hopefully we bring a big surprise on Derby Day.
That would be the surprise of all surprises in the history of maybe any. This would be the biggest surprise in any sporting event in the history of sports.
He would make Mind That Bird look like an odds-on winner.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Mind That Bird wouldn't be shocking anymore.
He'll be over 100-1, right?
Well, the Derby is and because of Mind That Bird, right?
Well, and he's making history.
Horses stopped going off at big prices in the Kentucky Derby after Mind That Bird won. So people go for long shots and bet goofy horses. So he probably, I'm not exaggerating, he probably should be 1,000-1 in this race. Yeah. And that might even be an underlay. He'll be a much shorter price, obviously, in the
He will, again, though, be making history. First ever Japanese-bred horse who will compete in the Derby. We had a couple who were based in Japan. Ski Captain in 1995, he finished 14th, and then Lonnie, of course, who finished 9th back in 2016.
Now, somebody has just told me that reliable that the horse to beat him was not a first-time star last time. He's 3 for 3.
Der Flug?
Yeah, I'm just...
not from what I have, but
okay,
we'll verify that during the break.
Regardless, he's still 1,000-1 in my betting.
Okay. We're going to go to Oaklawn right now. Let me pull up those PPs one more time. Maybe I read them wrong. Race 7, just a minute away, as the track again listed as fast. And we're going to check in for the first time this afternoon with Nancy Holthus. Nancy, we just want to say thank you for all your great coverage over the past few weeks. I know tomorrow's closing day. This is our last show with you. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, guys, it has absolutely been a true honor for me to be a part of your team. Steve Asmussen, we've already seen have a phenomenal day at Churchill Downs. He's had a phenomenal meet, leading trainer here once again. I'm going to go with the hard-knocking 4-year-old combatant. He certainly gets class relief. Even though he did face allowance runners last time, 13 of his 16 career starts have been against stakes and graded stakes runners. He does exit a second versus allowance, optional 16 runners over the slop off the minor break. He came from well off the pace. He closed hard, beaten just over 2 lengths. He's solid locally and at the distance, but he is going to be chasing the speedy home run trick, who breaks a couple of stalls to his inside. Brad Cox also sends out in here the number 8, currently at 2-1, the co-favorite, Marzo. He's posted a pair of seconds in his 2 starts at the meet, both at today's level. I do see him forwardly placed again here today. It's a very competitive group, but I'd like to see combatant get his confidence back up here in the 7th. Guys?
All right, Nancy, thank you very much. We're going to send it to Vic Stauffer. He has the call. Race 7, Oaklawn Mile in his 16th coming up. 1 left to load here on the outside. Determinant.
Home run trick is cantankerous. He said. They're off. Slow start, Verve's Humor. Coach Adams and home run trick break well. Sunny Smack and Marzo are next. Determinant set up outside of Marzo. Then comes Combatant and Meistermind with Promise Shoes, and the trailer is Verve's Humor. Home run trick to the backstretch from Coach Adams in second. Nice move by Colby Hernandez to angle Marzo to the inside. Didn't want to be stuck outside of the coach at the clubhouse turn. He's 2 from the front with Determinant just outside of him. Sunny Smack is 5th with 5 lengths to make up. Then it's another 4 back to Combatant and Meistermind. Towards the pack are Promising Shoes, and Verve's Humor after that slow start has 13 lengths to make up, and Home Run Trick is the leader midway on the backstretch. Home Run Trick, 3/4 of a length to Coach Adams in second. Marzo is tucked in at the rail in third, and 2 from the front with Determinant just outside of him. Then it's 3 back to Sunny Smack. Meistermind moves through at the rail. Combatant still has 9 lengths to make up. He's joined by Verve's Humor, and the trailer is Promising Shoes, and the leader is still Home Run Trick. Home Run Trick traveling nicely at the quarter pole. He's a length in front of Coach Adams in second. No excuses for Marzo. 3rd at the rail, about to move into second. Marzo is 2 from the front. Combatant, Sunny Smack are on the move as well. Top of the stretch, Home Run Trick, but here comes Combatant. In the center, Home Run Trick only ahead in front. Combatant is second. 2 back to Marzo in third. Then Sunny Smack and Verve's Humor. Home Run Trick has lost the lead to Combatant, who now leads by a length. Home Run Trick is second. Meistermind splits horses. Combatant, Meistermind into second. Combatant beat Meistermind. Home Run Trick was 3rd, close for 4th between Marzo, Sunny Smack, and Verve's Humor.
Combatant with the win in the 7th at Oaklawn. We apologize for those audio issues, or we can just blame Vic Stauffer, I guess. 5-2 on Combatant for trainer Steve Asmussen, Ramon Vasquez.
Well, that was a win I guess that Ricardo Santana could have had if he hadn't gone down to Kentucky to ride in those big races at the Derby.
Going to cost him a riding title.
I think that Ricardo Santana said, I would rather win the big races than, you know, I mean, riding titles are good, but Kentucky Derby weekend's different.
Yes.
Well, Combatant, 2nd win from 17 career starts. Had been 0 for 5 at Oaklawn. Had run well here, but had never won. Had been in the money in 4 of 5 starts. Today breaks through convincingly. Son of Scat Daddy with the win for Winchell Thoroughbreds and Willis Horton Racing. 4-1. I believe the 2 gets up there for 3rd. Back with prices and much more Derby talk after this.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle. The best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
As a commercial breeder, we're always looking for the next big thing in the stallion ranks. Always dreaming Florida Derby was one of the greatest performances of that race's history. In the final time, being faster than some very significant horses that have won that race, Empire Maker, Quality Road, Scat Daddy, and to follow up that performance and win the Kentucky Derby like he did, showcase himself as one of the elite athletes of his generation. I made Namara at Stonehaven Steadings, and this season, we're always dreaming.
Tom Durkin letting you know New York breds start with an advantage. At the sales, buyers pay up to 7 figures, and there's over $2 million in stakes money limited to New York sired horses in the New York Stallion Stakes Series, like the Park Avenue for 3-year-old fillies.
Newly minted wins it for fun.
For fun and money. The winner's share generates an additional $55,000 from the New York Breeding Fund.
Funny Guys gonna do it.
Funny Guys winning the Times Square division generates the same money. So get with the program at nybreds.com.
Runhappy was the fastest 3-year-old sprinter of his generation.
Runhappy is stamping his horses. They all got great necks, great hind legs. They all got a good walk, and this colt moves very, very well. Very smart. He hasn't turned a hair since we had him. First day we turned him out, he was very, very gentle in his paddock and did everything right. He's got an exceptional pedigree.
Runhappy standing at Claiborne Farm.
Cross traffic, 3/4, eye-popping 108 and 4. Runnout is right there, doing his best, but he's still second best with 1 furlong to go. Javier Castellano imploring cross traffic. Flat Out continues to close with fierce determination. They're coming down to the finish, and it is Flat Out in front.
Well, that was supposed to be our feature race today at Belmont Park. Flat Out, wow, he produced time and time again at Belmont. Jockey Club Gold Cup 2011, 2012, won Suburban in 2011, 2013, and the Westchester in 2013. But unfortunately, due to weather, Flat Out Stakes and the rest of today's card in Elmont, New York, canceled. The Flat Out rescheduled for next week on Thursday. So we'll have that race back in action. But Flat Out, most successful son of Claiborne sire Flatter. He was quite a performer.
Quite a performer, very consistent, and was able to go a distance. He was a horse with a great deal of stamina, and he seems like he's really stamped his foals. Very good-looking horses with very solid bone.
So next Thursday is the Flat Out as we take a look at his incredible career. 9-time winner from 29 starts, $3.6 million in earnings. Of course, trained by Belmont. Mentioned all the big wins. Did not mention that Cigar Mile. That was at Aqueduct back in 2013. Won that Grade 1 as well in a brilliant career. And that was the final start of his career. By the way, we're joined on set right now by 4-time Major League All-Star Paul LaDuca. He steps in for Andy Serling, who was checked out for the afternoon. We had a Triple Crown winner here last year in Justify. What will happen tomorrow? Will it be step number 1 on the way for a Triple Crown? Do you think we have a horse that's capable, Mig, of accomplishing that this year? You know,
I just think that this year it is so competitive that I don't see a Triple Crown winner in this group because I don't see anybody that's actually a dominant force. You know, last year you think about Justify, he was just a force of nature. What he did in 111 days to go from a first-time starter to a Triple Crown winner.
Incredible.
He was the best horse of his generation. I'm seeing a high-quality group of horses, and they're all going to need luck and trips to get it done.
Yeah, I'm sort of with you, too. The only way this could work out maybe to see a horse that can maybe get to the Triple Crown, now with the scratch at Omaha Beach, you do get Baffert has 3 horses. Now, if Game Winner or Improbable crushes this field, do you think he'd have those other 2 horses maybe step in their way?
Well, it's different ownership groups.
It does not matter.
Yeah.
It does a little bit, too, but you don't want to really step in the way of maybe of a Triple Crown chance because usually when the horse wins the Derby, they're pretty tough in the Preakness.
Well, I understood, but I think that no one's going to dominate the race tomorrow. So let's say Bob Baffert runs 1, 2, 3, and that very well could happen, and it's competitive, it's close. Then he's got to go forward with all 3. I think there's a better chance to see Bob Baffert win the Triple Crown, but not with the same horse.
No, he could win the Triple Crown.
With 3 different horses,
Yeah,
maybe?
because if you really, really try to break it down, you could say Game Winner's made for the Derby, and probably made for the Preakness, and Roadster's the kind of horse that when he gets clear, he gets going. He might be made for the Belmont. Yeah, you're right. Mick makes a great point that he could win the Triple Crown with 3 horses or 2 different horses.
Or 2 different horses.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. You're talking to Mike Smith after the Santa Anita Derby when he lost ground on the second turn, when Game Winner kind of forced the issue and he dropped back. That wasn't by design. He said the horse was actually struggling with the track a little bit, and Mike, being the Hall of Famer he is, gave him an opportunity to get his legs under him, get his stride, and then he came with that run. Only Hall of Famers can be that cool under those circumstances. But it's a scary thought. If Roadster wasn't handling the track and got up and won that race, and I agree Game Winner probably had a tougher trip, what if he really likes the track at Churchill Downs? Maybe he's got a big forward move.
And, obviously Arkansas Derby, we all saw that race, and probably he was acting up in the gate. He very likely could have been scratched in that race. He was adding blinkers that day. They're going to come off in the Kentucky Derby. Who do you think, though, is of the Baffert trio coming into this race tomorrow the best?
Well, I'd have to say Game Winner. Game Winner obviously has the foundation. Mig, he's a 2-year-old champion. He won the 2-year-old championship at Churchill Downs. He's got 2 races under his belt. I get it with all the rain we had in California. They missed training in early February and a lot of February. But since they've loaded that racetrack with such a ton of sand, it's gotten a lot of horses a lot of fit. And Bob has kept his horses there.
Kept his horses there. I agree with you. I think it's given them a lot of foundation, a lot of needed foundation.
Yeah.
Now, what swayed me back towards Game Winner, because I was under the impression at the beginning of the winter that Game Winner was just a superior 2-year-old and hadn't improved as much from 2 to 3 as you'd like to see. And I'm not saying he's bad by any means. I'm saying the gang caught up to him a little bit. The best athlete starting high school isn't always the best athlete coming out of high school. But then I looked at it deeper into his pedigree. His second dam's Fleet Indian, champion older mare 2006. Her 2 best races of her life were going a 1.25 miles, the Delaware Park Handicap and the Personal Ensign when it was a 1.25 miles at Saratoga. And he favors her from a physical perspective. I think the 1.25 miles is truly what he wants.
Jose Santos, if I'm not mistaken?
Jose Santos, good call.
And you were telling me this a long time ago, before we heard about Game Winner. Bob Baffert was talking early on with his 2-year-old crop who he thought his potential Derby horse was, and he thought the star that he had would be Roadster.
Yeah, he did. He thought Roadster was going to be the horse. And listen, what people are now knowing and don't really know about horse racing, had the surgery that Omaha Beach is going to have. But he just had it a while ago. Omaha Beach is unfortunately going to have it. Timing's everything.
Yeah.
But it worked on Roadster.
Yeah.
He's come back, and Richie makes a good point that he might have needed that last race, Roadster. And when it comes to Omaha Beach,
by the way, had the surgery, successful surgery this morning on that entrapped epiglottis, so he's going to be just fine. Going to miss about 3 weeks of training, however. But this was the big news from just the other day. The morning line favorite scratched out of the race. Arkansas Derby winner. He'd beat 2 of Bob Baffert's horses. Here's Hall of Fame trainer Richard Mandella on the news. He's not going to have a chance in this year's Kentucky Derby.
It was devastating, to be honest with you, yesterday. I've done this for 45 years, so I've seen the movie and starred in it. That's part of training horses. You couldn't have asked a horse to train any better or look any better this whole period we've been here. You've all seen he galloped yesterday. If you didn't look up his nose with a scope, you wouldn't know anything's wrong. But I'm sure by the time he'd hit the quarter pole, he would know it was there. And it would be a terrible feeling, as bad as it felt yesterday. It would be a horrible feeling to have him not finish well and know that I was at fault for running him. So we had to do the right thing by the horse, and that's give it up and go to the next step.
An entrapped epiglottis is simply the tissue underneath the epiglottis swells. Epiglottis is shaped kind of like that, and this tissue's underneath it, and we're looking this way. It swells and comes up underneath it and then wraps around the top of it. And it prevents the epiglottis from moving, which is very important because it's what blocks the airway from the pharynx, which is where the food would be coming from. So it keeps food out of the trachea, basically, is one of the things it does. But when a horse entraps, it really limits their breathing. It blocks probably about 1/3 of the airway. And in a race of this magnitude, that's too much to give up.
I would say 2 weeks, possibly 3, of no more than riding under the shed row, and then you can start to train. saying that with the Triple Crown in mind, we obviously can't run in the, I'm sorry, this whiskey's pretty strong. It's getting to me. The 2 weeks off just throws out the Triple Crown. He can't run in 2 weeks because he's not going to train at all. Can't run in the Belmont because if you mix 2 weeks, especially that we didn't run this weekend, so having not run and try to train up to it with 2 weeks off wouldn't be fair to the horse. I wouldn't try to put him through that. I wish everybody in the race the best of luck. It was a tough pill to swallow yesterday, but I said that to Foster in front of the horse, and the horse looked at me and said, "You think you had a tough pill to swallow?"
Well, he's one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of our sport, and he still has that great sense of humor on a day where he had to scratch the favorite for the Kentucky Derby, a race that really the only thing missing from his resume had to be so difficult for him, and I know everyone felt for him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give this to Richie, as in with the surgery and all that stuff, but from what I saw from Richard Mandella, and I know Richard very well, he does not talk a lot. He's short on words. He was telling you this horse was going to win the Kentucky Derby, and he's very disappointed.
Like he said, bitter pill to swallow, excuse me. But he's a horseman's horseman.
Yes, he is.
And it's always about the horse first. And, you know, unfortunately, he's been through this before, having to scratch horses on the cusp of big races. I go back to Half Bridled, and the Kentucky Oaks was certainly one of them. Beholder out of the Breeders' Cup a few years ago. He will not run a horse unless that horse is pristine, 110%, and I commend him for that. And then the way he handled this bitter disappointment. I mean, you really got to give him a lot of credit for that. Very difficult, but I loved riding for him, and I just think a horseman's horseman.
To still be able to have a sense of humor about that, I would be so incredibly bitter. He's feeling sorry for myself.
He's so dry that when you get that humor out of him, I think it's a way for him to take away the disappointment. Because I'm telling you right now, from what I heard from a lot of people, and even Mike, when I talked to Mike, I said, this horse is skipping over this racetrack. He said he reminded him of Exaggerator. That's how much he moved up on a wet racetrack, and it was going to be scary. And I think they weren't going to beat him tomorrow. So maybe the Baffert horses are getting lucky.
A career that he's accomplished just about everything you could imagine. The Derby, of course, missing from that for Richard Mandella, but he is the man who, of course, maybe one of the single greatest accomplishments in the history of the sport, winning half of the Breeders' Cup races on a single day, 4 of the 8 races. Just incredible, something that will never be repeated.
I think the best thing about that is I ran into Alex Solis that night, and he took off Action this day. And that was the other horse that won. The horse Minister Eric ran second. Yeah. He chose Minister Eric, or Alex would have won all of them.
Or maybe we should have called him Action one day. That was the only day he ever really showed up.
Exactly.
But, you know, interesting, though, you were talking about horses that have had this surgery and gone on to great things. Ali Sheba had the same exact problem, but it was 5 or 6 weeks out from the Derby, so he had an opportunity to have the surgery, and he came back and look at the Hall of Fame career he put together. So we're going to see more from Omaha Beach. Timing was just horrible.
Very recent, Frosted. Frosted had the surgery and came back good.
Yeah.
Won the Met Mile by
Mile by 14-plus lengths, and one of the great performances we've seen in that race in a long, long time. Let's get back to Baffert's runners, and for a little while, the 2-year-old champ became kind of a forgotten horse, because everyone was starting to talk about some of these other horses and here comes Omaha Beach, and he got beat by that horse in the Rebel, but then all of a sudden, third off the layoff now, after stablemate even beat him, of course, in the Santa Anita Derby, but now third off the bench. We need to remember about this horse.
Yeah, third off the bench, owns that win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile on the track.
Yeah.
Mile and a quarter should really suit him. And you know what? Except for a bob of a nose, he might have beaten Omaha Beach.
Yeah.
And the last time he was the one doing the dirty work, kind of forced the pace into the second turn. But I do think he's a difficult horse to ride.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's so superior to this group that Joel can afford to be wide on both turns. So I think he's got to work out a trip to try to save ground someplace in the first turn, because he's a horse you can't stop and start. So he's going to have to lose the ground on the second turn. Try to save ground, and when he gets marching, let him get in the clear and keep marching.
When you are on a horse that you know going in is difficult to ride, and look, Joel's been on this horse plenty of times, going back to his 2-year-old campaign. He knows him well. How much does that kind of change your game plan? You're thinking ahead in a race when you maybe have to react more, but you have to start thinking as well. Does it throw you off your game?
Well, I think his familiarity with the horse is certainly going to help, but You know, when a horse runs in the bridle, they're carrying you, they take you. You can really monitor how much you have underneath him. You watch Game Winner, he never runs in the bridle. He's like a bicycle. If he's not pedaling, he's not running. So it's a little hard to gauge how much you have and when you have to start your move. That's what makes it difficult. I think Joel's got a better handle on it after making that, albeit, you know, admittedly a premature move because he's difficult to ride. I think he'll adjust, and the 1.25 miles is going to suit. I think he rebounds in a big way.
Well, a Sire Candy ride, too, if it does rain, you would think it would help him, too, because the horses that buy Candy ride do love the wet track. But, again, every wet surface is different. You never really know. But I think the key for him, too, he's got to win over the racetrack, and he's got a big win over the racetrack.
Yeah, that counts for a lot, obviously. I mean, we'll talk more about it in a moment. Let's hear from the Hall of Famer who's coming off a Triple Crown, his second, Bob Baffert.
The thing about Game Winner, he needs to save ground in the first turn. He's been wide. He's got sort of a bad post all along. He's been wide. So, you know, I was hoping he would have been drawn a little bit down towards the inside where he could. But I have, you know, Joel Rosario. He's a top rider. You know, I can't really give him too much instructions.
Don't give me any instructions, but don't go wide. You gotta love Bob. He's a little bit like Phil Jackson. He says what he needs to say before the big race comes. He just subtly told Joel, "Hey, Joel, save ground, but I'm not going to give you any instructions."
How much prep and talk on instructions are there in the biggest race that there is? How much talk is there between connections?
Well, I think that really depends on the individual connections. I mean, like when I would ride for a guy, let's say like John Kimmel, I mean, that's all we talked about for weeks leading up to the race and how we were going to approach things, and I was always working the horse on top of it. Some guys don't talk at all. They just, hey, you're the rider, I'm getting them ready, and I'm going to turn it over to you. But I agree with Paul on this one. That was just planting the seed. I'm not going to, handcuff you, but you need to save ground.
A little bit of ground, please. And that's a good sign because he's admitted that Roadster doesn't really love a lot of kickback. So Bob's telling you Game Winner's okay with a little kickback in his face if he saves a little ground,
Improbable. We'll talk about as well, but Roadster, Game Winner, the 2-year-old champ, Improbable stacked with that trio, Bob Baffert, as he looks to win a 6th Kentucky Derby tomorrow. We're going to take a break in the action. First, we owe you prices out from Oaklawn, race 7. It was Combatant, Ramon Vasquez, Steve Asmussen, Winchell Thoroughbreds, Willis Horton Racing, $7.60 for the win. Win number 2 in 17 career starts for the son of Scat Daddy. 4-1-2 finish. Trifecta comes back $290 for that 4-1-2 combination. Let's set up race 8 for you. Maiden special weight, 3/4 of a mile. See the 4-horse taken out of the mix here. Zip Your Lip, the one to beat right now. John Ortiz trains. Edgar Morales will be aboard coming off back-to-back seconds. This horse had been off for about a year and a half until he finally returned this year in March at Oaklawn. We'll see if the third off that long layoff is the charm for the son of City Zip. More Derby talk ahead. Is another Triple Crown winner in the cards this year after what Justify did for Bob Baffert and company in 2018. We'll be back with more right after this.
Kentucky Derby winner Orb. On the track, his runners have scored on both dirt and turf, including multiple stakes winner Autumn Warrior, stakes performers Scrapper and Malocchio, and Sipacan Harbor, winner of the Grade 1 Spinaway Stakes at Saratoga. In the sales ring, his 2-year-olds have fetched prices up to $1.25 million and multiple yearlings up to $1 million. Classic winner, classic pedigree, or standing at Claiborne Farm.
Runhappy was the fastest 3-year-old sprinter of his generation.
Runhappy is stamping his horses. They all got great necks, great hind legs. They all got a good walk, and this colt moves very, very well. very smart. He hasn't turned a hair since we had him. First day we turned him out, he was very, very gentle in his paddock and did everything right. He's got an exceptional pedigree.
Runhappy standing at Claiborne Farm.
Open wide, catch the dream, the fire inside, standing tall until the end. I'll survive, I'm not falling down.
Justified, a two-lane lead as they come to the front of the speed. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the man.
Secretary is lightning now. He is moving like a tremendous machine.
American Alliar hits a bird. A bird's got it out. They run it. They come out and over. And now he's done. And Marshall.
I'm not
Justified is the 13th Triple Crown winner.
Our show, of course, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing, the go-to site covering the sport and lifestyle. Visit americasbestracing.net today. We want to hear from you. Use the hashtag ABR at the races and show us your winners, your fashion, the food, your time at the track with friends, or if you're having a Derby watch party, we want to see it all. Hashtag ABR at the races. The big day coming up tomorrow, the race that everybody is waiting for, and, you know, a race that, Paul, you and I were covering earlier on this year. We got to cover the Rebel, and a horse that I liked a little bit that day. Long Range Toddy won one of the divisions of that race, beat one of Baffert's horses. Improbable. He will have a jockey making history. John Court, he will be the oldest jockey ever to ride in the history of the Derby at 58 years old.
Congratulations to Johnny Court. Is a journeyman that's been doing this for a long time, and he's a darn good rider. And you know what? He's only thrown in one clunker, and that was in the Arkansas Derby. He got hung out so wide, and he tried to press the pace with Omaha Beach, and he just got hung out way too wide. And that's not the way he's going to be ridden. And with the speed in this race, I really feel that this horse has got a shot to maybe hit the Super or maybe third, fourth, or fifth, because tactically he has enough speed, but he's going to lay 8th, 9th, and 10th, and he's got a little bit of a late kick. And listen, Johnny Court has ridden many races at Churchill Downs, so he knows exactly when to hit the plug.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Congratulate John Court for just getting there, 58 years old.
Yeah.
And this guy really takes care of himself, and obviously you have to if you're riding at this level this late in your life. I loved his Rebel because he really listened to his riders. He was able to get position. He was able to draft him behind horses. He produced him when he needed him. My concern is the sloppy track, and maybe that had something to do with the bad, part of the reason for the bad performance in the Arkansas Derby. So is he going to be able to rebound on a sloppy Churchill track, which it looks like they could have?
Yeah, it could happen, yeah.
First time this horse had been on the offgoing.
Not
just
good.
happened to be the only race where he really didn't show up. As for John Court, we know he can ride. He is over 4,000 victories over the course of his career. He started riding in 1980, and here he is, 58 years old, lining up at the Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
Well, he broke from the outside, and I pressed him a little to save some ground going in the first turn, and then about the time I'd really like to see him settle, we were pressed again down the backside and initiated to stay within the wake and close to the horses on the front end, and I don't think that necessarily was favorable for his finish that particular day. I am the oldest rider to ever ride the Derby. However, that day is not here yet. I'll be confirmed when I'm sitting in the gate and waiting for the button to be pressed. But winning it would really set a standard that would change the record books. But the record books are always there to be broken, so.
Oh, he's making history just being in this race. Of course, the oldest jockey ever to win the Kentucky Derby. That was aboard Ferdinand back in 1986. The great Bill Shoemaker. He would eclipse that by 4 years. She was 54.
Great, by the way.
Looks
Doesn't
tremendous.
Even close to his age, by the way.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right?
But think about Shoe's ride on Ferdinand. 54 years old, diving to the rail, coming through a spot about this wide. I mean, you're not supposed to do that at 54 years
and
old.
Ferdinand, Shoemaker looked like a little ant on Ferdinand. Ferdinand had a big old long neck, too. Pretty awesome ride, yeah.
By the way, the horse we just saw win at Oaklawn, Combatant, owned in part by Willis Horton Racing, who owns Long Range Toddy as well. 8th race, maiden special weight coming up. It is 3/4 of a mile, maiden special weight. We showed you these earlier. Another look, though. And zip your lip. What do you think? Beatable here in this spot?
Yeah, why not? The horse runs second last couple times out. When you're 4-5 and you lose by 7 lengths, I get it. It was a strung out field, but I sort of like those kind of races better than when they're bunched up in a little bit in here. I always love Steve Asmussen first time out. When you get him at 12-1, I'll take a shot with Beamy Award.
And Mig, we just saw that one go by Lost in Limbo. This is going to be the first time he actually catches a fast track.
Fast track, and he improved from his first start to his second start. And if he has another forward move in him, David Cohen fighting for leading rider, Ricardo Santana already at Churchill Downs, so he has a chance to capitalize on that. I was kind of curious about the 5 annualized first-time starter from Brad Cox, just because I'm not so enamored, although I do like your idea with the Beamy Award, because I think he can improve a great deal second start for Steve Asmussen. I just thought maybe a stranger might be the direction I want to go, look for somebody new.
And we talk about Johnny Courtright in the Derby at his age, and we've talked on the show before, but you got to give some props to David Cohen. You know, he had a bad injury, and he has come back with a vengeance, and he is riding tremendous and at top form after being gone for a couple years. That's tough to do.
A couple years. I mean, the longest layoff I ever had, and there were a few of them were 8 months, 7 and 8 months, 3 different times.
It's tough.
And that's a long
right?
time, and you know, to get your business back, your timing back, you know, mentally to be able to get your focus back. So I applaud him, and he's grown up a great deal.
Yeah.
He was a rider that always had a lot of ability, but he really is focused and channels it well now.
And he is on his way to unseating Ricardo Santana Jr. as the leading rider.
Yeah.
Santana's won 6 consecutive meets at Oaklawn. David Cohen going to be assisted a little bit with Santana out of town, but he's gone toe-to-toe with him this entire meet. He's on board the 1 here, Lost in Limbo. 4-1 on the board as he tries to bring home this riding title. Favorite, however, is the 9, Zip Your Lip at 2-1 on the board. He was off for a year and a half. This will be his 3rd start back, making career start number 6. Can he break through, Son of City Zip? Let's go to Vic Stauffer for the call. Race 8 live from Hot Springs, Arkansas.
They're at the post. They are off. Zip Your Lip broke beautifully, goes for the front from Lost in Limbo at the rail. 2 off the fence is Beamy Award, and Beamy Award puts his head in front from Annualized, who now takes second. Then comes Leah's Ridge, followed by Brooder Bob and Slick Silver. Next, it's Freeze Line, and the trailer is Grand Royale. Beamy Award up the backstretch, just narrowly in front of Annualized. These 2 match strides, a length and a half in front of Zip Your Lip and Lost in Limbo. Then comes JM White Lightning, and about 4 from the front. Leah Ridge has 5 lengths to make up. He's a length and a half in front of Slick Silver. 3 back to Freeze Line and Brooder Bob, and Grand Royale is still the trailer, and Beamy Award is still the leader. Beamy Award just ahead in front of Annualized in second. Lost in Limbo trying to get out off the rail. Just outside of him goes Zip Your Lip, and these 4 come to the final furlong. Annualized and Beamy Award. Lost in Limbo and Zip Your Lip. Beamy Award still half ahead in front. Annualized alongside to the outside. Lost in Limbo and Zip Your Lip. It is Beamy Award. Annualized. Zip Your Lip. Beamy Award. Zip Your Lip. Beamy Award. Beamy Award. Jay Balls calls right into the winner's circle. 4, Zip Your Lip second, and Annualized third.
Beamy Award second time out. Steve Asmussen Barn, Ramon Vasquez, Bloom Racing.
Yeah, got out of the gate, Richie. That was the big thing. He broke dead last time out, and Ramon Vasquez wasn't messing around. What's going on here? He hits him left-handed, and when he hit him right-handed, he didn't like it.
No, he really did some dipsy-doodle here, kind of zigzag. He went back right-handed. You're going to see the next time he goes at him, he's going to jump back to his left lead and kind of do that zigzag right here.
Yeah.
And he was like, he basically told him, don't do that to me again. and he actually went and showed it to him again right-handed. The gamer than me, I would have already had it in my left hand, but he was resolute. It looked like, 2 or 3 horses took shots at him, and he was the last guy standing in the bar fight.
Yeah.
All right, so Beamy Award with the victory. We'll bring you those prices coming up in a few minutes as we continue our Kentucky Derby discussion. Tomorrow, the big day under the Twin Spires, expecting a wet racetrack once again, as we saw that last year as well with Justify. And a horse, sometimes you claim a horse, you don't know how good that horse is going to be. For Danny Gargan and Tax, wow, did this horse turn out to be really, really good. He said after the second work, after he claimed him, he said, I didn't realize he was this good.
Well, he's got a pedigree to back it up. You know, he's got that good Claiborne, Adele Dilschneider pedigree behind him. Arch out of Baffert, Toll, Giant Causeway. And I remember the buzz after he worked him the first time. And even Kieran McLaughlin, rival trainer, said, you should really think about running that horse in the Remsen. And he was right. I mean, this is a really good horse. He needs to take a step forward, I think, to crack the top 3 or 4 in the Derby. But he creates his own trip because he's got speed. He leaves the gate really well. And Junior Alvarado gave him an absolute great ride in the Wood Memorial. Tacitus had a tough trip, and Tacitus still beat him. I don't know that he's got enough, but if you ride him to get a check, maybe you get lucky.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ride him to get a check. I actually think Tax is the kind of horse that he's going to be, for me, a better Belmont horse because he's bred to run all day long, and he's sort of a grinder. I like to be the guy that maybe was not in the shake for 30,000 because he was in for 30,000 before he got taken for 50,000. But Rich makes a good point. Like Tacitus beat him fair and square, and it's
and with a rough trip.
With a rough trip, and it's just amazing to me that we still saw that workout from Hidden Scroll beating Tacitus by 9 lengths. And if you want to see Hidden Scroll, he'll be earlier in the card in a none other than one.
Meanwhile, he's running on the undercard tomorrow. Meanwhile, as for Tax, for Danny Gargan, this is going to be his first ever Kentucky Derby experience, and he cannot wait.
Well, I thought I was getting a grass route horse, but turned out I was getting a Derby horse. So you never really know what you're getting when you do it. Some are good, some are, bad. You hope 1 out of every 5 is better than what you take. After he ran in the Remsen, that's when I decided I was going to take my time with him, and then we waited, ran the Withers. He won that, and then I decided I want to keep him 2 turns, and we waited for the Wood. It's my first Derby in Kentucky. I'm, a New York-based trainer. I think a lot of my horses don't get, the credit they get when I run here, so it's okay. I'll learn to find out I can win.
It's got to make it just that much sweeter, too. I mean, well, every case is different, but a horse that you claim for $50,000, there's been some great claims over the years. Lava Man was one of the greatest of all time for a long, long time. He's got a way to go before he gets to that kind of status, but still, he's come back to win a graded stakes, winner of the Withers. Tremendous claim.
Well, what's the last time you've seen a horse that got claimed for, or was in for 30 and was in for 16? Maximum Security was in for 16, and he's going to be under 10-1. Both of them are going to be in the Kentucky Derby. That's pretty crazy.
No, it really is, but it goes to show you sometimes horses don't tip their hand in the morning.
Yeah.
And I even think Tacitus is a bit like that.
I think so too. Yeah.
He's a horse that's just a lackadaisical workhorse. He's not going to show up until it's game day. And he's a horse, Tacitus, just not to get off Tax because I really like the story, but he was very studdish and a lot of antics as a 2-year-old. And I think he's finally got his focus. So he's got another step forward. And this is a really intriguing Derby. There's really, any one of 7, 8, 9 horses could win. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I'm with you.
Want to remind everybody, after the Derby, after the Preakness, we come right here.
Yeah,
third and final leg of the Triple Crown. Tickets to the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. They're going fast. You can enhance your experience with an all-inclusive premium hospitality package. Buy tickets or reserve your seats at Ticketmaster.com or at BelmontStakes.com. Belmont Stakes, where champions are crowned. Just ask Mike Smith. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. More coming up on America's Day at the Races right after this.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
This successful son of AP Indy has sired 6 millionaires, including Eclipse champion West Coast, a multiple Grade 1 winner and runner-up in the $16 million Pegasus World Cup. Flatter is adding even more stakes winners to his outstanding record at stud. In the auction ring, Flatter topped the 2018 Fasig-Tipton July Seal with a $520,000 yearly. Success on the track, success in the ring. Flatter, standing at Claiborne Farm.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
So my name is Robbie Herzl. I'm the yearly manager here at Claiborne Farm, and we've got the first crop of Runhappies this year. Overall, I'm very, very pleased with them. So we have a colt out of Queen of America. He's really nice, looks just like his dad. Very pleased with how he's coming along. So there was a lot of demand for the weanlings last year. They sold for over 6 times their stud fee, and we're really excited for the yearlings to come through the sales, and we're expecting big things from them.
Runhappy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
The Go Between Us, as mentioned, is the oldest Kentucky Derby winner in North America.
He's actually a bit of a character. He likes to play around a little bit. There was a story I always recount about him. I had my winter gloves in my back pocket to keep them dry, and he snuck up right behind me, just as gentle as could be. Very gently grabbed them out of my back pocket, ran like he was in the Derby. Didn't get them back for a good 20 minutes.
Jen's kind of my personal favorite. I actually followed him on his Derby trail, and I rooted for him. He's a little bit special to me. Jen's still quite the stallion. He's 28 years old, and he probably shows the most stallion attributes of anybody in the barn. Acts literally half his age, and his looks go along with that too.
Go for Jen, winner of the Kentucky Derby back in 1994. He's the oldest living Kentucky Derby winner based in North America. And there was a little bit of drama in terms of who was going to ride Go for Jen, right, back at the Derby?
Well, Go for Jen was ridden by Jerry Bailey in the Wood Memorial. He ran second to Ergun, run him to 3/4 of a length, really good race. And then Jerry had the opportunity to jump on Ergun because Gary Stevens was tied up on somebody else. He had ridden him in the Wood Memorial. Chris McCarron picks up Go for Jen. Ergun, who was going to be one of the favorites for the Derby, had a defect the week of. Bailey couldn't get the mount back. Chris McCarron won the Kentucky Derby on him. Sometimes you just got to be the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Mike Smith talks about how he had to take off Cigar, and he had to because I want to say it was Skip Away or it was Holy Bull. Excuse me, Holy Bull.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Big Gray, but like, he's like, how can I not? I had to take off Cigar for Holy Bull. And Simon Bray always tells me that the Gallop girl was the one that told Simon Bray and Belmont, you guys are idiots for keep running this horse on the turf. Why don't you run him on the dirt? I swear to God. And Simon always laughs about it too. But yeah, sometimes you got to do some things,
Well, how do you take off
Holy Bull? You can't.
But Mike likes to say he rode Cigar when he was just a cigarette.
That's great. That's pretty good, yeah.
Well, this all segues into the biggest news that happened today, of course, involving the Kentucky Derby. We thought Mike Smith would not have him out in the Derby. He had to choose between Roadster or Omaha Beach. He chose Omaha Beach, who, of course, had to scratch with that entrapped epiglottis, the breathing issue. Thought we would not see Mike Smith in this year's Derby. All of a sudden, Starlight Racing says we're going to put him on our horse. He will replace Corey Lannery, and he's going to be on board cutting humor for Starlight Racing out of post 10.
And, you understand, because of the history, Mike rode Justify, Starlight Racing, Jack Wolf owned a piece of Justify through his racing career. So he feels like he's good luck. And listen, you're getting a Hall of Famer. Now, I know it stings Corey Lannery from an ego perspective. You take pride in it. Nobody wants to replace like that. Even though you're getting paid, it doesn't matter. As a jockey, you take a lot of pride in what you do. Any athlete.
And the other part about this is Corey's home track.
His home track.
Right, yeah.
He's ridden over
leading
1,000
rider.
winners there, leading rider. So he knows. And in that respect, it might be just a lateral move going to Mike, even though he's one of the greatest of all time. Right?
How much more does it sting, though, just a day out?
Well, of course,
it stings big time, I would
terrible.
think, right?
Of course, again, listen, any top athlete, as you know, you got to have some swagger. You got to have a little ego and belief in yourself. Now, that being said, I think the way you got to look at it, and maybe the baseball analogy I've been using all day, you'll relate to. A coach feels like a certain batter would be better in a certain situation, and he pitch hits for the guy. He puts another guy in because he thinks it's what's best for the team. There's only one Derby. They think they're doing what's best for the team. The horse is still up against it no matter who rides him. He's a long shot. A lot of things would have to go right for him to win. I'm sure it just hurts Corey, though.
And this is bases loaded, bottom of the ninth. You're down 3 runs, and then you just come to the plate. Paul, we're going to take that bat from you.
The problem is the horse isn't hopeless.
Yeah.
The horse has got decent numbers, and his sire, First Samurai, loved the slop. So
I think that's key there.
I don't know if he's going to be able to get the distance. You know, he's not pedigree-wise to get to distance, but you know, Richie makes such a great point. Corey Landry's such a great rider, but when you have Barry Bonds sitting on the sidelines,
that's the thing.
That's the thing.
You have a Mike Smith available, a Hall of Famer who's big money Mike.
One of the greatest
riders
of all
use him,
time.
right?
And Corey's probably upset, but he's not as upset because it's Mike Smith. If it's anybody else, he's really upset.
Exactly.
That wasn't the only big news in terms of what's going on with the Derby tomorrow. We had another defection as well. It was 50-50. We learned yesterday with the foot abscess of High Cal. They were going to soak it in Epsom salts and see if they could get it better. It will get better. It's just a question of if it will get better quick enough. That answer was no. Scratch time was this morning, 9 a.m. Not quite better in time, and they don't want to risk anything with this horse. They're going to point him now to a summer campaign.
You know, and it's bad timing. It's too bad because you get a horse all the way to the Derby. Everybody's excited. You're there. You've got your plans. But Charlie Whittingham said it best. Horses are like strawberries, and they can go bad overnight.
Yeah, it's true. And I think Hakal is going to be a really good one-turn horse. He was very green when he won the Gotham. He shied away from the whip that day and sort of lugged out. But he beat Mind Control, Instagram, who we'll see on the undercard again, on Derby undercard. He beat some good horses. So I think when he comes back, he's got a nice pedigree. Obviously, Kieran trained the sire and is owned by Shadwell. So I would see big and better things for him around one turn soon.
And I got to say, we're not going to see him in the race tomorrow, but we'll see him down the line. But he has such a fun way of going. He comes from so far out of it, so late, and when he kicks into gear, he really finds it.
And that's why I agree with Paul that I think he's a better one-turn horse because he gets more pace to run at. You know, these longer races are not going to go as fast. They're not going to come back to him. I like a horse that drops out like that one-run kind of sprinter. I think that's going to be his forte.
Yeah.
Well, I've just been asked to ask everyone for their Kentucky Derby picks. It's that time.
Wow.
Mig, I guess. Well, should we start with Paulie? You ready?
You want to go, Mig?
I'm about game winner. I'm going to go with game winner. From the pedigree standpoint, I just think the 1.25 mile is really going to hit him between the eyes. I think Joel Rosario's been riding really, really confident. And you and I were speaking, and you made a great point. He's like a baseball player that's a bit streaky. When he gets in the zone, he's like unbelievable. And I think he's in that zone right now. And a game winner trained by the right guy, Bob Baffert.
I'm with you. I'm right on the horse. My number was 16 when I played, but I was number 1 in your heart, Greg Wolf. You know that.
Yes, you were.
But the reason why I like game winner, I think Richie hit it right on the head. I think Joel Rosario was told, stay the heck out of trouble. We have the best horse. And he ran into Omaha Beach. Then he ran into Roadster. He ran into some pretty good horses. And I think he's going to be held probably pretty much outside, too, away from trouble. But that might be a good thing. And I don't think he was truly ready. And he is the horse to beat. And he's got the man. Let's be honest. Bob Baffert's the best that's ever trained a racehorse, in my opinion.
Who was the best horse coming into this Kentucky Derby?
Omaha Beach.
Omaha Beach.
It was Omaha Beach.
It was Omaha Beach.
Because also how shifty he was. Not only is he good, but he had the ability to make multiple moves, and that makes it easy for a rider.
My point, though, in bringing that up
Okay.
was in the Arkansas Derby, you have a horse who was completely unsettled in the gate, almost was scratched in that race, and still got to within a length with him.
I know, but here's my thing about Improbable. Improbable had to run first or second to get into the Kentucky Derby. A lot of people don't realize that, okay? Game Winner didn't. Game Winner's been nicely set, and Bob Baffert is the best at setting up a horse for a race. But I am with you. Tactically wise, Improbable is going to be right there.
Third off the layoff as well for Improbable. He's going to take those blinkers off. They didn't work in that.
But it begs a question.
You love blinkers off.
Well, no, I don't love it in this scenario. I don't like how he ran last time out, but I just think he's a better horse without them. I do like that usually, yeah.
But you brought up the gate antics in Arkansas. Big crowd there.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to Kentucky Derby Day. Does he blow up again at the gate with a bigger
it's
crowd?
Not like it's not been a consistent issue with him, though. It happened the one time, and it might have been because he had those blinkers on, with going back to where it worked before without them.
No concern with the change, blinkers on, blinkers off, that even Bob might be reaching just a little bit, like, you know, not quite have a full handle on everything?
Game Winner wore blinkers first start of his career, took him off start number 2, and he won.
I get
it. Wasn't the Kentucky Derby.
I think
normally going into the Derby, you don't like to see changes,
I think maybe Bob's thinking, I got to take the blinkers off because I'm trying to get that 1.25 miles.
Yeah,
but
that's a good point.
You know, like anything else in riding at Churchill Downs, when it's wet, it can carry a horse.
Absolutely.
So if he's in good position, I'm not arguing with Improbable either. I think he's going to be. To be honest with you, at the top of the lane, it's going to be Maximum Security, Improbable, and Game Winner maybe a couple lengths back. I really feel it's going to be those couple horses, and then you're going to see who's going to have the stick and who's going to have the stay or the finish.
Well, and I think that from the mile and a quarter, but that's going to be Game Winner. But it wouldn't shock me, like I said, any one of 9 or 10 even now, in my mind, can win. There's like 4 or 5 where they got no shot.
Yeah.
But not the rest of them. I mean, it's going to be. I think you could throw a blanket over the ability of these horses, and you're talking about 4 or 5 lengths. And in a race, 4 or 5 lengths is not a lot. A lot of things happen in a big field.
We were talking with Andy Sterling. You know, he was on the set earlier, and he had to go home, do some more studying for tonight. In terms of pace in this race, who do you think you're going to see in the front end here?
Oh, good question. Well, here's the thing now. With the scratch, War of Will moves to the 2. So they went 2 to 20. So that's going to help him out a little bit. He's still going to have to push out of there. Maximum Security, obviously. Vekoma as well. Vekoma is very, very green for George Weaver. And I think he's another horse by Candy Ride. He moves a little bit like Game Winner. Listen, Candy Ride had a funky foot. He moved out. He swung his foot out a little bit. Vekoma's even worse. So
yeah, he's worse.
Him and Maximum Security, 5, 6, and 7, Wolfie. And the 1 where we'll look for a lot of speed from the inside runners, and I would think the outside runners are just going to see what happens.
Well, I think the outside runners got to come out running enough, and I really thought that Spinoff is the horse that is going to show more speed than people might realize. Manny Franco's a terrific young, talented rider. He's getting a chance in the Kentucky Derby. He's got an outside draw with a horse that does possess 22-45 kind of speed. Your emotions are a little bit more amped up. A young rider is talented. I think he's going to come out forward, looking for position, kind of ignite that horse a little bit. So I think Spinoff's going to be a part of it. I absolutely believe Maximum Security is too, because even though he got slow fractions in the Florida Derby, he has sprint speed when they want it. And, you know, you think about it, even though they're not coupled, 2 different trainers, Gary and Mary West own both Game Winner and him. They complement each other's styles. If I'm them, I'm telling them, listen, you go. And so if they leave you alone, you go wire to wire. And if they go after you, it sets it up for our other horse. That's the perfect strategy.
Yeah. This is an interesting Derby also because we have a horse. I don't know if we've had this before. He was, you could argue for a while, the horse to beat on the road to the Kentucky Derby. And then all of a sudden he had an issue. He lost his action in his last race, talking about War of Will.
Yeah.
But he has come back. Unfortunately for him, it was his last prep coming in. But he's come back to work very strong since that time. This was the horse. He wasn't only number 1 on the leaderboard, points leaderboard. This was a horse that was regarded as in the same breath as the Baffert horses in Omaha Beach.
No, he was. And Mark Cassidy had come up to me and told me, hey, I got a 2-year-old that's better than Classic Empire. And I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing considering what Classic Empire did. He had some problems with his head a little bit. And he said this horse has a better head on his shoulders. And you're right. He was going to be one of the top 3 or 4 choices in this race. Do you just draw a line through it or you throw a clunker? It's just tough to do right before the Derby, no?
It's really hard when the last prep for the Derby, the horse had an issue. He lost his hind end. He pulled some muscles. He's by a prolific sire, the Claiborne sire, War Front. But he gets the rail to compound that you already got a concern about how he's coming into the race. Although he looks great training. He really does.
He does.
But to me, I can't play him because of the rail and the fact that his last race he actually had a physical issue.
A lot to overcome. They've tried to build up that strength back, and it looks like it's returned. We'll see. He has been training exceptionally well for the comeback. They call him Wow around the barn because he was so sensational. Can he return to his winning ways at the LeCompte and the Risen Star? Everyone get signed up, get started, play along, bet the Oaks, bet the Derby with Naira Bets. Get a $25 Derby bet when you use the promo code ROSES. If you run second or third, you get that money back, plus the $200 new member bonus. We'll be back.
This is a colt by Runhappy out of Addison Run. We bred here at Moffra Hall. Well, he's a big, strong, good bone, big old hip on him. Moves really well, has that kind of big cat-like walk when he just relaxes and gets rolling up and down the lane.
Runhappy, standing at Claiborne Farms.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
In the morning, I'm always looking for talent. With Always Dreaming, it was always about his athleticism. He's like a halfback. When he hit that hole, he exploded and hit another gear. In my experience, horses like Always Dreaming, they stamp their offspring with that ability. I'm racing with Bruno, and this breeding season, I'm always dreaming.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2 and other regional networks across the country. It's brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Good to have you with us. We're 7 minutes away from the Oaklawn Mile. First of $250,000, the 9th at Oaklawn. 2-turn mile coming up. And exclamation point is at 5-2 right now on the board for trainer Brad Cox, trying to win 3 in a row. Of course, Pioneer Spirit was the morning line favorite, dropping out of the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap. We start things off with Lenstar, Calvin Burrell, Nick Zito. This one has won 2 in a row, and he is quick.
Yeah, Lenstar for Calvin Burrell, like you were saying, and you're right. Going to just probably push the button from the get-go here and try to take this field gate to wire.
Can't even say this horse's name.
Yeah, I know you hate the Trojans. Fight on.
Fight on. Gets David Cohen, gets a good inside draw, short run of the first turn, going a mile at Oaklawn.
Exalting the 3 for Mike Maker off the claim.
Yeah, off the claim. And this horse usually brings his lunch pail. Second last time, third the time before.
This horse was on the Derby Trail last year. Snapper Sinclair for Steve Asmussen.
I will never throw out a Steve Asmussen horse, particularly at Oaklawn Park. Bloom Racing having a good day.
Yeah,
Colonel's Dark Temper, the 5, 29-1.
Good race last time. Showed a little bit more speed with Billy Fires and Jermaine Bridgman.
Here's the current favorite for Brad Cox, exclamation point.
Yeah, another speed type and a horse that should get forward position. Stuart Elliott having a resurgence at Oaklawn Park.
Malibu Max, he's a huge price, and he was only 3 parts of a length beat by exclamation point last start.
Yeah, Jareth Loveberry will be aboard. 3 straight seconds. Just been a little bit unlucky, but he just brings the same game every time.
Pioneer Spirit, this was the morning line favorite, 7-2. He brings speed, and he drops out of the best race of anybody.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he's not the favorite, although he may be by post time. This is a horse that's faced better, and he certainly likes Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, he won their 2 starts back on a fast track. The 9, Gato Guapo for Robertino Diodoro.
You walk pretty handsomely, too.
Thank you, sir.
You do. But Orlando Mojica is going to try to get this one home.
Secret House, bilingual Paula Duca. Luis Quinones for Alan Milligan here. More
yes,
pace.
this is going to have to find a bit more and bad draw to boot.
And Matru on the outside. Walter De La Cruz on board, 16-1.
I'll tell you what, he threw up a giant number on synthetic at Arlington. I'm surprised they just didn't leave him there. Then he did not run a bad third in the Stephen Foster behind Pavel at 68-1. So he may be able to surprise at a big price.
We are not on air tomorrow. We have no show tomorrow, but there still is a cross-country pick 5. You can play it at NYRA.com/cross-country. It includes racing from Belmont, Woodbine, and from Oaklawn. It starts at 4:20 Eastern Time, the 9th at Belmont Park. Again, go to NYRA.com/cross-country to get involved. We're going to take a break in the action, the Oaklawn Mile. When we come back, their feature race, we will have it for you. Next, we'll check in one more time as well with Nancy Holthus in Hot Springs, Arkansas. You're watching America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. We'll be back.
This proven son of Giants Causeway has sired 4 millionaires, including Claiborne Farm Stallion Lee. Recent top runners include 4-time graded stakes winner Miss Sky Warrior, 3-time graded stakes winner Sharp Samurai, multiple stakes winner Bal Harbor, and Dubai Group 3 winner Shamal Nibras. Last year, his 2-year-olds sold up to $540,000, while his yearlings fetched up to a whopping $575,000. First Samurai, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Runhappy is simply super. He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu.
No medication, no problem. Runhappy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We are back on America's Day at the Races, and the feature race from Oaklawn is coming up. $250,000 purse for 4-year-olds and up in the Oaklawn Mile. And this is a tremendous betting race. Of course, our show brought to you in part by Runhappy. Champion sprinter, now standing at Claiborne Farm for $25,000 in legendary stall number 1. As we go to Hot Springs, Arkansas, let's check in one more time with Nancy Holthus.
Thanks so much. Brad Cox has 2 in here, and they're actually co-favorites right now at 3-1. Going to start off with the number 8, Pioneer Spirit. Very professional when warming up. He did beat several that return here today when scoring an allowance. 2 starts back and exits the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap at 1 mile and an 1/8. That was contested over the slop. He did set the early fractions, was caught late running third. Was only beaten, though, half a length for that victory. He's very sharp locally and also at the distance. Now, Cox also sends out a very interesting runner. He's very popular locally. That is the number 6, Exclamation Point. He does make his stakes debut. He is very sharp locally himself and has definitely earned the right to step up to stakes company. Fight On, the number 2, the Southern California runner who does get David Cohen in the irons. David is only 1 victory away from tying Ricardo Santana for the riding title. He's looking for back-to-back stakes wins after a victory in the 5th season. 2 of his 4 career wins, they were scored right here at Oaklawn Park. So I like the fact that he does love the hot spring surface. Steve Asmussen has had a very good day, not only at Oaklawn Park, but he's given 2 of his 3 wins with Ramon Vasquez in the irons. He sends out the number 4, Snapper Sinclair here, who is looking to improve off a disappointing 5th as the beaten favorite last out. So a good day all around, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Brad Cox go 1-2 in the inaugural running of the Oaklawn Mile. Guys?
Nancy, thanks. And there is Snapper Sinclair moving into the gate from post number 4. Yeah, he was a beaten even money favorite in that most recent start. He didn't get out of the gate well on that occasion. We'll see with a clean break today. Normally, at least tactical speed, a big part of his plan, Mig.
Yeah, he's a horse that likes to be involved, and you don't want to see him buried. But I'm seeing a lot of pace in here, Paul. I don't know about you. I think this is going to be a pretty fast pace in this race.
Yeah, and you were talking about the 2 in here, Fight On for Doug O'Neill at 5-2. Going to be tough because he's going to get that pocket trick. If he can find some room late, he's going to be the horse that they're going to have to hold off late.
Lenstar, the 1, the 3, Exulting. Certainly the 6, Exclamation Point, the 7, Malibu Max, Pioneer Spirit, the 8, Gato Guapo Secret. They all like to go. So, yeah, the 2 might have the perfect trip. It's the Oaklawn Mile. Vic Stauffer with the call here on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2.
They're at the post. They're off. Good start. Snapper Sinclair, Colonel's Dark Temper, exclamation point, and Len Star. Len Star is going to sprint up and take the lead. Colonel's Dark Temper and exclamation point now second and third. Fight On moves at the rail. He's alongside Snapper Sinclair. Pioneer Spirit very wide at the clubhouse turn, moves up to be a joint third. Then Malibu Max and Exulting, followed by Secret House and Gato Guapo, and the trailer is Matru. It's Len Star and Calvin Burrell into the backstretch in the inaugural Oaklawn Mile. 3/4 of a length from exclamation point, who's a neck in front of stablemate Pioneer Spirit. Then comes Fight On. He races at the rail. A joint third now and 2 from the front. Secret House, Malibu Max, Exulting, Colonel's Dark Temper, and Snapper Sinclair. All 5 from the front. Then it's 3 back to the 2 trailers, Gato Guapo and Matru. Len Star is still there. Len Star, less than 3 furlongs from the money. The finish line is the 16th pole, and he leads by a neck over exclamation point and Pioneer Spirit. Fight On is all in now and 2 from the front. Exulting is about to join and pass him. Then comes to the outside and Secret House. Snapper Sinclair has dropped out of it. Snapper Sinclair is gone. Pioneer Spirit is the new leader at the top of the stretch, and his stablemate exclamation point goes right with him. Fight On has angled to the outside. He's got a chance. Exulting's just inside of him. Any one of about 4, and Pioneer Spirit exclamation point. Exulting and Fight On, a thriller in the Oaklawn Mile, maybe Exulting, Fight On, exclamation point. It is Exulting. The first Oaklawn Mile goes to Exulting. He won by a length. Exclamation point, Pioneer Spirit, and Fight On.
4 of them across the track right before the wire, and it's a horse who was just claimed for $62,000 last time out for Mike Maker, wins a $250,000 race.
Well, good return on rate of return on your investment,
right?
This horse muscled his way out from behind horses, despite David Cohen doing everything he could to keep that
locked in,
that close. And Exulting's been a horse that showed he doesn't like to stick. You see, he flags his tail when the rider gets after him, but he keeps going forward from it. Now, this was a terrific ride and a terrific claim by Mike Maker.
Yeah, you could see Fight On, who I know you don't like. He started fighting on when the 3 got, like Richie said, got married to him, and they started taking off together. But you got to give Richard Aramia a lot of credit, because he fought through that hole, and like he was saying, he wasn't really loving the stick, but Exulting was moving best. So you get double 3s then the day there at Oaklawn, right? Or the last 2 races at Oaklawn at double-digit prices.
It's Exulting. Takes the Oaklawn Mile, Mike Maker, Richard Aramia, and Michael Hui gets the victory, son of Tappet. Derby day tomorrow. We have no show tomorrow. We're back on Fox Sports 2 on Sunday. We'll have the Ruffian from here at Belmont. We're on at 2 to 6:30. MSG Plus, we are on Sunday 4 to 6:30. So we'll see everybody on Sunday. Enjoy your Derby day. Again, Derby picks real quick.
Game winner.
Game winner.
Improbable.
Okay.
We're all going Bob Baffert. We seem to think we know the trainer at least.
Yeah, at least.
Kentucky Oaks is just about 10 minutes away. Look at the odds here one final time before we sign off. Bella Fina, can she remain undefeated in her 3-year-old season?
I think she does. I think everybody is underappreciating what she has done, and I think 2-1 is actually a gift.
I'm going with Champagne anyway. I'm sticking with that.
That's my second choice. I do like her.
She wanted blinkers, got the blinkers, and I think it's made her a better filly.
We'll see how it plays out. Enjoy the Oaks. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby, everybody. Hope you enjoyed our show this afternoon. We are back again on Sunday afternoon. And by then, we'll know who won the Kentucky Derby and who is alive for the Triple Crown. Back again on Fox Sports 2 Eastern Sunday, MSG Plus at 4 Eastern. For Richard Migliori, Andy Serling, Maggie Wolfendale, Paul LaDuca, I'm Greg Wolf. We'll see you on Sunday.